and design principles. Can anyone tell?
ಫುಲ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾವ ಹಿಂಗಂದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು
Can anyone tell? Design principles. ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಪ್ರಣವ್.
Sir,
Yeah.
network architecture,
Yeah.
data rate and latency,
Yeah. Okay.
performance requirements,
Yeah.
radio resource management,
Yeah.
deployment scenario and coexistence with 3G,
Yeah.
flexibility of spectrum and deployment, and finally interoperability with 3G and 2G networks.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So next, can anyone tell what are the components of end-to-end network architectures? Components of end-to-end network architecture. Components of end-to-end network architecture. Can anyone tell? Sindhu. Chasmita. Can you, any others can tell the components of end-to-end network architecture?
Sir,
Yeah.
end-to-end network architecture components are eNode V,
Yeah.
mobility management entity,
Okay.
serving gateway,
Okay.
packet data network gateway,
Okay.
S1 interface, X2 interface.
Okay, Pranav, good. So next we have studied the radio interface protocol. So can anyone tell the layers of the radio interface protocol? Layers of radio interface protocol. Niharika. Lavanya. Manoj Kumar. Simran. Sanjana. Vicheta. Tejas? Vaishnavi?
ಸರ್
Yeah, Varshini.
ರೇಡಿಯೋ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲು ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ಯಾಕೆಟ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಕನ್ವರ್ಜೆನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೋಟೋಕಾಲ್,
Okay.
ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲು ಮತ್ತೆ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲು, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಲೇಯರ್.
Okay, Varshini, good. So, can anyone tell what are the three modes of radio link control? There are three modes of radio link control.
ಸರ್ ದ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮೋಡು, ಅಕ್ನಾಲೆಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮೋಡು, ಅನ್ಅಕ್ನಾಲೆಜ್ ಮೋಡ್.
Okay, Varshini. So we have discussed the hierarchical channel structure. So in that there are different channel types. Can anyone name the three channel types? Manju? Simran? Okay, the three different channel types are logical channels, transport channels, and physical channels. So yesterday we have discussed the logical channels and transport channels. So today we are going to study the physical channels. So these physical channels are the actual transmission. So here each physical channel corresponds to a set of resource elements in the time frequency grid that carry the information from the higher layers. So it consists of a set of resource elements which carry the information from the higher layers. So here the basic entities that makes a physical channel are resource elements and the resource blocks. So here a resource element is a single subcarrier over one OFDM symbol, and typically this could carry one modulated symbols. So here a resource block is a collection of resource elements, and in the frequency domain this represents the smallest quanta of resources that can be allocated. So here some of the downlink physical channels are PDCCH, PDSCH, the PBCH. Next we have PMCH, PHICH, and finally we have PCFICH. So first one is we have physical downlink control channel, that is a PDCCH. So here it carries the information about the transport format and resource allocation related to the DLSCH and PCH transport channels, and the HARQ information related to the DLSCH. So here it also informs the user equipment about the transport format, resource allocation, and HARQ information related to ULSCH. So here it is mapped from the DCI transport channel. So second one we have is physical downlink shared channel, that is PDSH. So here this channel carries user and higher layer signaling. So here PDSH channel carries user data and higher layer signaling. So here it is associated with DLSH and PCH. So next we have a physical broadcast channel, that is PBCH. So it corresponds to the BCH transport channel and carries the system information. So here PBCH corresponds to the BCH transport channel and carries the system information. So next we have a physical multicast channel, that is PMCH. So here PMCH carries multicast or broadcast information for the MBMS service. So next we have a physical hybrid ARQ indicator channel, that is PHICH. So this channel carries HRQ acknowledgement and non-acknowledgements associated with uplink data transmission. So PHICH is matched from the HI transport channel. So last one we have is PCFIH, that is a physical control format indicator channel. So this channel informs the user equipment about the number of OFDM symbols used for the PDCCH channel. So and it is also mapped from the CFI transport channel. So these are the some of the downlink physical channels. So next we have uplink physical channels. So that is PUCCH, that is physical uplink control channel. Next we have physical uplink shared channel, that is PUSCH. And next we have PRACH, that is physical random access channel. So here the role of the physical uplink control channel is it carries the uplink control information, which includes the channel quality indicator, that is CQI, ACK or NAK, for the HRQ in response to the downlink transmission and uplink scheduling request. So the PUSCH, that is the physical uplink shared channel, is responsible for which carries the user data and higher layer signaling. So it is also corresponds to the ULSCH transport channel. So next we have is physical random access channel, that is PRACH. So PRACH is PRACH channel carries the random access preamble sent by the user equipments. So it carries the random access preamble which is sent by the user equipments. So here beside the physical channels there are signals embedded in the downlink and the uplink physical layers, so which do not carry the information from the higher layers. So here the physical signals defined in the LTE specifications are, so there are two physical signals defined in the LTE specifications. The first one is the reference signal and next we have the synchronization signal. So here in the reference signal, so it is defined in both the downlink and the uplink for channel estimation, which enables the coherent demodulation and for channel quality management to assist the user scheduling. So here it is defined in the both the downlink and the uplink for the channel estimation, so which enables the coherent demodulation for the channel quality measurement to assist the user scheduling. So here there are three different reference signals in the downlink. The first one is the cell specific reference signals associated with the non MBSFN transmission. Second one is MBSFN, reference signals associated with MBSFN transmission. So and next we have user equipment specific reference signals. So there are two types of uplink reference signals. Demodulation reference signal, which is associated with the transmission of PUSCH or PUCCH, and the sounding reference signal to support the uplink channel dependent scheduling. So next we have is synchronization signal. So here in the synchronization signal, it is split into a primary and secondary synchronization signals. So and is only defined in the downlink to enable the acquisition of the symbol timing and the precise frequency of the downlink signal. So this is about the reference signal and the synchronization signal. So next we have channel mapping. So here from the description of different channel types, we have seen that there exists a good correlation based on the purpose and the content between the channel in the different layers. So here this requires a mapping between the logical channels and the transport channels at the MAC SAP and a mapping between the transport and the physical channels at the SAP. So here such channels mapping is not arbitrary, and channels, different types of channels are shown in this figure. So here while the mapping between the control information and the physical channels, so here it is responsible for the multiple channel map to a single channel. So here for example different logical control channels and logical traffic channels are mapped to the DLSCH. Here you can look at this DLSCH. So it is possible for a single channel, for example, logical channel, logical control channels, and logical traffic channels, which are mapped to DLSCH transport channel. So these are the logical channels, transport channels, and the physical channels. As we studied earlier, these are the downlink and uplink channels which have arrived in the logical channels, and these are the channels which have in the transport channels. And these are the downlink and uplink physical channels. So next we have is downlink OFDMA radio resources. So here in the radio, in the LTE, the downlink and uplink uses the different transmission schemes due to the different considerations. So here in the LTE, the downlink and uplink will use the different transmission schemes due to different considerations. So here we summarize some of the key advantages of YFDM that motivates using it in the downlink, that is LTE downlink. So first one is the YFDM is efficient in combating the frequency selective fading channel with a simple frequency domain equalizer. Which makes it a suitable technique for wireless broadband systems such as LTE. So next it is possible. It is possible to exploit the frequency selective scheduling with YFDMA based multiple access, that is YFDMA, while the HSPA only schedules in the time domain. So this can make a big difference, especially in slow time varying channels. So here in the downlink, a scalable YFDMA transmission or multi-access technique is used that allows for high spectrum efficiency by utilizing the multi-user diversity in the frequency selective channel. So here a scalable SCFDMA transmission multi-access techniques is used in the uplink, since this reduces the peak to average power ratio, that is PAR, of the transmitted signal. So the downlink transmission is based on the YFDMA with a cyclic prefix. So here the transceiver structure of OFDM with FFT and IFFT enables a scalable bandwidth which operates with a low complexity, which is one of the major objectives of the LTE. So next, as each subscriber becomes a flat fading channel compared to the single carrier transmission, OFDMA makes it much easier to support the multi antenna transmission, which is the key technique to enhance the spectrum efficiency. So next we have the YFDMA enables multicast and broadcast services on a synchronized single frequency network, that is MBSFN. So as it treats signals from different base stations as propagating through a multipath channel and can efficiently combine them. So the multiple access in the downlink is based on the OFDMA. So here in the each TTI, a scheduling decision is made where each scheduled user equipment is assigned a certain amount of radio resources in the time and frequency domain. So here the radio resources which are allocated to the different user equipments are orthogonal to the each other. So which means there is no intra-cell interference. So in the remaining so that's it for the downlink OFDMA resources. So in the downlink OFDMA resources we have frame structures of the downlink. So here LTE supports the two kind of frame structures. Frame structure type 1 for FDD, that is frequency division multiplexing mode, and second one is frame structure type 2 for the time division duplexing mode. So here before going to the details about the resource block structure for the downlink. We first describe the frame structure in the time domain, which is a common element shared by both the downlink and the uplink. So in the LTE specifications, the size of the elements in the time domain is expressed as the number of time units. That is time units TS is equal to 1 divided by 15,000 into 2048 seconds. So as the normal subscriber spacing is defined to be delta F is equal to 15 kilohertz, where TS can be regarded as the sampling time of an FFT based OFDMA transmitter or receiver implementation with FFT size, that is NFFT is equal to 2048. So here note that this is just for notation purpose. So different FFT sizes are supported, which depend on the transmission bandwidth. So here a set of parameters for typical transmission bandwidth for the LTE in the downlink. LTE in the downlink, where the subscriber spacing that is delta F is equal to 15 kilohertz. So here the FFT size is increasing with the transmission bandwidth ranging from 128 to 2048. So with delta F is equal to 15 kilohertz, the sampling frequency, which equals the delta F into NFFT, is a multiple or submultiple of the UTRA or HSPA chip rate of 3.84 megahertz. So in this way, the multimode UTRA and UTRA or HSPA LTE terminals can be implemented with a single clock circuitry. So here in addition to the 15 kilohertz subcarrier spacing, so a reduced subcarrier spacing of 7.5 kilohertz is defined for MBSFN cells. So here which provides a larger OFDMA symbol duration that is able to combat the large delay spread associated with the MBSFN transmission. So here unless otherwise stated, we will assume that delta F is equal to 15 kilohertz in the system. So here in the time domain, the downlink and uplink multiple TTIs are organized into a radio frames with the duration of TF is equal to 307200, where TS is 10 milliseconds. So here for the flexibility, the LTE supports the both FDD and TDD modes. So the most of the design parameters are common to FDD and the TDD in order to reduce the terminal complexity and maximize the reuse between the designs of FDD and TDD systems. So accordingly, the LTE supports two kinds of frame structures. Frame structure type 1 for the FTD mode and frame structure type 2 for the TDD mode. So next we will study the frame structure type 1. So here the frame structure type 1 is applicable to both full duplex and half duplex FDD. So here there are three different kinds of units specified for this frame structure. You can look at this figure. There are three different kinds of units specified for this frame structure. The smallest one is called a slot. The smallest one is called a slot, which of length T slot is equal to 15360. This is the one time slot where TS is equal to 0.5 milliseconds. So here two consecutive slots are defined as a subframe. Here two consecutive slots are defined as the subframe of length 1 milliseconds and 20 slots. So numbered from 0 to 19. So here the constitute of radio frame of 10 milliseconds. So radio frame of 10 milliseconds. So here the channel dependent scheduling and link adaptation operate on the subframe level. So here therefore the subframe duration corresponding to the minimum downlink TTI, which is of 1 millisecond duration. So compared to a 2 milliseconds TTI for the minimum downlink TTI, compared to the 2 milliseconds TTI for the HSPA and minimum of 10 milliseconds TTI for the UMTS. So here a shorter TTI for the fast link adaptation, and it is able to reduce delay and better exploit in the time varying channels through the channel dependent scheduling. So here each slot consists of a number of OFDMA symbols, including CPs. Here CP is a kind of grad interval to combat the inter OFDM symbol interference. It should be larger than the channel delay spread. So here therefore the length of CP depends on the environment where the network operates. So here the length of the CP depends on the environment where the network operates. So and it should not be too large as it brings the bandwidth and power penalty. So here with the subcarrier phrasing, that is delta F is equal to 15 kilohertz. So the YFDMA symbol time that is 1 over delta F is approximately equal to 66.7 microseconds. So this is the YFDMA time symbol time, that is 1 over delta F is equal to 66.7 microseconds. So here the LTE defines two different CP lengths. One is normal CP and extended CP. So here corresponding to 7 and 6 YFDMA symbols per slot, corresponding to, that is 7 and 6 here 0 to 6 and 0 to 5 symbols per slot. So respectively, so the extended CP is for multi-cell, multicast or broadcast, and it is very large cell scenarios with a large delay spread. at a price of bandwidth efficiency with length, that is TECP, is equal to 512, where TSC is approximately 16.7 microseconds. So the normal CP is suitable for urban environment. So here the normal CP is suitable for urban environment and high data rate applications. So here note that the normal CP lengths are different for the first and subsequent YFDMA symbols. So which is to fill the entire slot of 0.5 milliseconds. So here the number of CP samples for different bandwidths. With 10 megahertz bandwidth, the sampling time is 1 over 15,000 into 1024 seconds, and the number of CP samples for the extended CP is 256. So which provides the required CP length of 256 by 15,000 into 1024, that is approximately 1.67 microseconds. So here in the case of 7.5 kilohertz subcarrier facing, there is only a single CP length which corresponds to the 3 YFDMA symbols per slot. So here for the FDD uplink and downlink transmissions are separated in the frequency domain, each with each with 10 subframes. So here in the half duplex FDD operation, so the user equipment cannot transmit and receive at the same time while there are no such restrictions in the full duplex FDD. So here however in the full duplex FDD terminals need high quality and expensive RF duplex filters to separate the uplink and downlink channels. So while in the half duplex FDD, which allows the hardware sharing between the uplink and downlink, which offers a cost saving at the expense of reducing data rates by half. So here the half duplex FDD So here the half duplex FDD user equipments are also considered a good solution if the duplex separation between the uplink and downlink transmission is relatively small. So in such case, the half duplex FDD is a preferable approach to mitigate the cross interface between the transmitter and the receiver chains. So this is about the frame structure 1. Please make a note of this structure, frame structure type 1, everyone.